Hey, buddy, let me tell you about something wild that happened. I begin, leaning back in my chair, the memory still fresh as if it happened yesterday. You see, a few months back, during one of those mundane workdays that blend into each other, I was grabbing a coffee in the break room when my colleague Stefan, a guy I've known but not really known, you get me? He starts chatting about the usual deadlines, the new intern, the weather. Then, out of nowhere, he drops this bombshell about his open marriage. Yeah, you heard that right. Open as the sky. It shocked me, you know? Not just the fact that he was in an open marriage but that he was so nonchalant about it. Like he was discussing some TV show, not his personal life. And there I was, sipping my lukewarm coffee, trying not to spit it out in surprise. I mean, Stefan's a regular guy, the kind you wouldn't glance twice at in the hallway. And here he was, living a life straight out of some risque TV drama. But then, maybe it was the caffeine or the shock, but I found myself opening up too. I told him about my own marriage. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my wife, but let's just say our marriage has been cruising on autopilot for a while. The excitement, the thrill, that's been Mia for some time. And before I knew it, I was confessing to Stefan how I craved some spice in my life, something to break the monotony. You should have seen his face. It was like I'd given him the last piece of a puzzle. He leans in, lowers his voice, and says, you know, if you ever want to talk or, you know, explore, I'm here. It was like an unspoken invitation to a secret club, one I didn't know I wanted to join until that moment. In the weeks that followed, things between Stefan and me changed. There was this unspoken understanding, a connection that hadn't been there before. We started chatting more, not just about work but about life, desires, boundaries, and, well, opportunities. Our conversations became the highlight of my otherwise predictable days. And then, one afternoon, as I was about to leave the office, my phone buzzed. A message from Stefan. Fancy a drink after work? Just two guys unwinding, nothing serious. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. This was it, the point of no return. Part of me screamed caution, but the other part? It was already out the door, driven by curiosity and an unquenchable thirst for something new. So, I texted back, sure, why not? And with that simple reply, I stepped into a world that was about to turn everything I knew on its head. As I drove to the bar, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. What was I doing? Was this a mistake? But then, I remembered Stefan's calm, confident demeanor, how he seemed to have it all figured out. And I thought, maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what I needed. The bar was dimly lit, the kind of place where secrets are shared and left within its walls. Stefan was already there, nursing a drink, looking as relaxed as ever. As I sat down and ordered my drink, I realized this wasn't just a casual after-work drink. This was the beginning of something, a journey into uncharted territory. And as Stefan raised his glass, his eyes meeting mine, I knew there was no turning back. Cheers, he said, to new experiences and secret invitations. And with that, we drank, the clink of our glasses echoing like a starting gun to a race I never knew I was running. You see, after that first drink with Stefan, things took a turn. I mean, they really started escalating, but not in the way you might think. It was all about the texts. Yeah, those little messages we shoot back and forth without a second thought. Initially, it was all pretty innocent. A joke here, a funny meme there. You know, the kind of stuff you'd send to any coworker to break the monotony of the day. But as days turned into weeks, the nature of our texts started to shift. It was subtle at first, like a gentle nudge towards something more. We moved from jokes to personal stuff, talking about our lives outside work, our interests, and gradually, our desires. And man, let me tell you, words can be powerful. We were like two authors of our own little private novel, each message adding a line, a paragraph, a chapter to this story we were weaving. Every ping of a new message sent a jolt of excitement through me. What had he written now? What was I going to say back? It was like a game, each of us pushing the boundaries a little further with every exchange. Then, one evening, as I'm lounging on my couch, phone in hand, a message from Stefan pops up. It's different this time, more direct, more daring. He's hinting at fantasies, at things he's never done but wants to try. And I'm there, heart pounding, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me is hesitant, but another part, a growing part, is intrigued. So, I dive in. I reply, sharing my own hidden desires, things I haven't even admitted to myself until that moment. From there, it's like a floodgate opens. Our texts become more frequent, more explicit. We're sharing fantasies, what-ifs, maybes. It's exhilarating and terrifying all at once. I find myself waiting for his messages, anticipating the thrill of reading his words and crafting my replies. It's not just about the content of the texts, it's the underlying tension, the unspoken question hanging in the air. Will we move beyond words? But neither of us is ready to voice that question yet. It's like we're dancing around a fire, feeling the heat but not daring to get too close. And it's not just at night. We're texting at work, sneaking glances at our phones, sharing secret smiles across the office. It's like we're in our little world, a world where the rules of our regular lives don't apply. But with every text, with every shared secret and fantasy, I feel myself getting more entangled in this web we're weaving. It's intoxicating, this game of words and desires. But deep down, I know games like this can't go on forever. Sooner or later, something's got to give. And part of me is scared to find out what that something is. Yet, I can't stop. I don't want to stop. Stefan's texts have become a highlight of my day, a thrilling escape from the mundane. And as we push the boundaries further, I start to wonder where this is all leading. Are we heading towards something real, something tangible? Or is it just a fantasy, a fleeting escape that'll vanish like smoke? Hey there, dear readers. I hope you're as hooked on this journey as I was living it. Before we dive into the next chapter of this rollercoaster story, I've got a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this tale of love, adventure, and unexpected twists, how about showing some love? Hit that like button to let me know you're on board. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. It's like a virtual high five, telling me to keep the stories coming. And hey, why stop there? Go ahead and hit subscribe too. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Subscribing will keep you in the loop, so you're always the first to know when a new chapter drops. Plus, it's a great way to support this storyteller on his quest to keep you entertained. So, take a quick second to like and subscribe. Done? Awesome. Now, buckle up and let's jump back into the story. The next chapter's waiting, and trust me, you don't want to miss a beat of what's coming up next. So, this morning, right? Just a regular day at the office, or so I thought. I'm standing there by the coffee machine, trying to wake myself up with that first caffeine hit. It's the usual scene, the hum of the machine, the faint chatter from the cubicles. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then, Stefan walks in. Now, remember all those texts we've been exchanging? Yeah, they've kind of changed the game between us. There's this electric current of anticipation whenever we're near each other now. So, he comes over, casual as ever, but with this glint in his eye. We exchange the usual good mornings, a bit of small talk about the latest project. But the whole time, there's this tension, thick enough to cut with a knife. I'm pouring my coffee, trying to act nonchalant, when suddenly, he does it. In a move so swift and bold it takes my breath away, Stefan leans in and plants a kiss on me. It's quick, barely a few seconds, but man, it's intense. Like a bolt of lightning straight to my core. I'm stunned, coffee halfway to my lips, as he pulls away. He gives me this sly smile, a twinkle in his eye, and then just walks away like nothing happened. And I'm left there, heart racing, mind spinning. Did that really just happen? In the middle of the office, no less? For the rest of the day, I'm buzzing. I can't focus on my work, can't shake the feeling of his lips on mine. It's like he's ignited something inside me, something wild and reckless. I keep replaying the moment in my head, each time feeling that jolt of electricity. It's crazy, the effect a single kiss can have. It's like we've crossed a line, stepped into new territory. And there's no going back now. I find myself glancing at him throughout the day, our eyes meeting in silent acknowledgement of what happened. And the texts? They take on a new intensity after that. We're bolder now, more open in expressing our desires. The kiss has opened a door, and we're both eager to see what's on the other side. But it's not just lust. There's this connection, this understanding between us that's hard to put into words. It's like we're on the same wavelength, riding the same wave of excitement and anticipation. As the day winds down, I find myself reluctant to leave. The office has become a charged space, a place of secret glances and unspoken promises. But eventually, I have to go home, back to my regular life. Driving back, I can't help but smile to myself. Stefan's sneaky kiss has turned an ordinary day into something extraordinary. It's a reminder of the unpredictability of life, of the surprising turns it can take when you least expect it. But there's also a part of me that's wary. We're playing with fire, Stefan and I, and as thrilling as it is, I can't help but wonder if we're going to get burned. So, I head home, the memory of the kiss still lingering on my lips, a promise of more to come. And I know, deep down, that this is just the beginning. There's no telling where this path will lead us, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be one hell of a ride. You see, after that electrifying kiss at the office, Stefan and I were like two magnets drawn to each other. And then comes the text, that one message that changes everything. It's late evening, just a regular Tuesday, or so it seems. I'm lounging on the couch, half watching some show on TV, when my phone buzzes. It's a message from Stefan, and man, it's like something out of a spy novel. Meet me tomorrow, parking lot by the old sports field, 8 p.m. Don't be late. I mean, talk about cloak and dagger, right? My first reaction? It's a mix of excitement and nerves. A secret rendezvous, really? It sounds so clandestine, so forbidden. But that's the thrill of it, isn't it? The secrecy, the sneaking around. It's like we're characters in our own little thriller. So, the next day rolls around, and I'm a bundle of nerves. All day at work, I'm distracted, my mind racing with thoughts of the evening. What's going to happen? Is this really a good idea? But there's no backing out now. The curiosity, the desire, it's too strong. I leave work, and the drive to the sports field feels surreal, like I'm floating outside of my body. My heart's pounding in my chest, a drumbeat of anticipation. And then, I'm there, at the parking lot, just as the sun's starting to dip below the horizon. The lot's nearly empty, just a few scattered cars, and there, under the glow of a flickering street lamp, is Stefan's car. It's like a scene straight out of a movie. I park next to him, our cars side by side in the fading light. I sit there for a moment, trying to calm my racing heart. This is it, the moment of truth. I take a deep breath and step out of the car. The air is cool, the sky a canvas of purples and oranges as the day fades into night. Stefan's already there, leaning against his car, looking cool as a cucumber. How does he do it, I wonder? How does he stay so calm when I'm here, practically buzzing with nerves? Hey, he says, a small smile playing on his lips. His voice is casual, but his eyes, they're intense, like he's looking right into my soul. We don't waste time with small talk. There's an unspoken agreement between us, a mutual understanding of why we're here. He nods towards a path that leads into a wooded area beside the field. Shall we? He asks, and I nod, following him into the shadows. As we walk, the sounds of the city fade away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of crickets. It's like we're stepping into another world, a secret world just for us. We don't go far, just far enough to be hidden from prying eyes. And then, he turns to face me, and I see that same desire in his eyes that I feel burning inside me. What happens next? Well, it's a blur of sensations and emotions. The thrill of the forbidden, the rush of crossing a line we both know we shouldn't. It's intense, passionate, like we're trying to make up for all the time we've spent dancing around each other. And when it's over, when we're standing there in the quiet of the night, catching our breaths, there's a moment of clarity. This isn't just a fling, a one-time thing. This is something more, something deeper. We've opened a door we can't close, and neither of us knows what lies on the other side. But as we walk back to our cars, there's a sense of satisfaction, of fulfillment. We've crossed a threshold, and there's no turning back now. So, I drive home, the memory of the night still fresh in my mind, a secret smile on my lips. Stefan and I, we've started something dangerous and exciting. And I can't wait to see where it leads. This is about that time Stefan and I decided to take our little adventure into the woods. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? But there we were, making it happen. So, I arrive at the designated spot, right? It's this secluded area just on the outskirts of town, near the woods. Stefan's already there, waiting like some character from a spy thriller. He's got this look in his eye, a mix of excitement and something else. Anticipation, maybe? We don't waste any time. He nods towards the woods, and we start walking, sneaking off the path like a couple of teenagers up to no good. The whole thing feels surreal, like we're actors in some dramatic scene. The sun's setting, casting long shadows through the trees, and there's this chill in the air that makes everything feel more intense. As we walk deeper into the woods, the sounds of the city fade away, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the occasional distant call of a bird. It's like we're entering another world, one where the rules of our normal lives don't apply. We find this spot, kinda hidden away, surrounded by trees. It's like nature's own little private room. And man, the tension between us is so thick you could cut it with a knife. We're both aware of what's about to happen, but there's this unspoken agreement to not rush it. We start off slow, just talking, but even our words are charged with this energy, this unspoken desire. And then, without warning, things escalate. It's like a dam breaking, all that pent-up tension and longing just flooding out. The next thing I know, we're all over each other. It's wild, intense, like nothing I've experienced before. There's this sense of freedom, of being completely uninhibited, surrounded by nothing but nature. And Stefan, he's right there with me, matching my intensity, my passion. It's not just physical, though. There's this deep connection, like we're in sync, understanding each other's needs without words. The thrill of the forbidden, the excitement of the new, it all combines into this electric experience that's hard to describe. But as intense as it is, there's also this undercurrent of fear. Fear of being caught, fear of the consequences. It adds to the thrill, sure, but it's also a stark reminder of the reality waiting for us outside these woods. Afterward, as we're catching our breaths, sitting there amidst the fallen leaves and the quiet of the forest, there's this moment of clarity. We've crossed a line, gone beyond a point of no return. What does this mean for us, for our lives outside these woods? That's the question hanging in the air, unasked but heavily present. We make our way back to the path in silence, each lost in our thoughts. The walk back to the car feels like a return to reality, to the world we left behind when we stepped into the woods. As I drive home, the whole experience feels like a vivid dream. But it's a dream that's left its mark, a memory that's etched deep into my being. Stefan and I, we've ventured into uncharted territory, and there's no map for what comes next. The memory of it still sends shivers down my spine. So, there we were, Stefan and I, lost in the moment in the woods, right? Everything's intense, passionate like we're in our own little world. But then, suddenly, reality crashes in. We're in the thick of it, right, completely wrapped up in each other, when I hear this sound. It's subtle at first, just a slight rustle, like a whisper through the trees. I try to brush it off as just the wind or some animal. But then, there's a clear, unmistakable snap like a branch breaking underfoot. Instantly, it's like cold water's been thrown over me. My heart, which was racing with excitement a moment ago, is now pounding with panic. I freeze, and I can feel Stefan tense up too. We're both motionless, our eyes locked, listening. For a moment, there's nothing but the sound of our own breathing, heavy in the quiet of the woods. Then, another rustle, closer this time. My mind's racing a mile a minute. Are we caught? Is someone watching us? The thought sends a wave of panic through me. All the possible consequences start flooding my mind. What if it's someone from work? What if it's the police? Hell, what if it's a freaking bear? Stefan's the first to move. He whispers, "Stay here," and starts to move cautiously towards the sound. I'm left there, heart hammering in my chest, trying to control my breathing. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig feels amplified, like the woods are closing in on me. Minutes pass, but they feel like hours. I'm trying to prepare myself for the worst. What's our story if we're caught? How do we explain this? Then, Stefan's back, and the look on his face is a mix of relief and amusement. "False alarm," he says. "It's just a deer." He laughs it off, but I can tell he was scared too. But that moment, that scare, it changes something. The mood's shifted. The thrill of the forbidden, the excitement of the moment, it's been overshadowed by the cold, hard reality of what we're doing. We're not just two people lost in passion, we're two people risking a lot for this secret tryst. We decide to call it a night, to get out of the woods before our luck runs out. Walking back to the car, there's this unspoken tension between us. The fear of getting caught has put things into perspective. We're playing a dangerous game, and suddenly, the stakes feel all too real. Driving home, I can't shake the feeling of what almost happened. It's like I've been walking a tightrope, and I've just glimpsed the long drop below. The excitement of the affair is still there, but now it's mixed with a healthy dose of fear. It's a wake-up call, a reminder of how quickly things can go south. And it leaves me wondering, is it worth it? Is this thrill, this connection with Stefan, worth the risk we're taking? I wish I could say the answer was clear, but it's not. All I know is, after tonight, nothing's going to be the same. I begin, rubbing my face as if the memory itself is etching lines of conflict. The morning after our risky escapade in the woods, I'm driving back home, and man, my head is a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. It's weird, you know, how the quiet of the morning can make everything from the night before seem so loud in your head. The streets are empty, the world is just waking up, and here I am, trying to piece together my feelings. On one hand, there's this undeniable buzz, a high from the excitement and the thrill of the night with Stefan. It's like I've been riding this wave of adrenaline and it's only now starting to ebb away. The sneaking around, the passion, the danger of it all, it was intoxicating. But then, as the sun starts to peek through the buildings, casting long shadows on the road, the other hand weighs in, guilt. It creeps in slowly, like a tide, filling up all the spaces that the excitement left behind. Guilt about my wife, about the double life I'm leading, about the risks I'm taking. It's a cocktail of emotions, and I'm not sure I'm ready for the hangover. The drive home feels longer than usual. Every red light is a moment to think, to reflect, to question. What am I doing? Is this really worth it? The thrill of the affair is undeniable, but so is the reality of my life outside of those stolen moments with Stefan. By the time I pull into my driveway, the sky is a canvas of pinks and oranges, a new day beginning as another one ends. I sit in my car for a moment, collecting myself, trying to switch back into the role of the husband, the family man. Walking into the house, I'm greeted by the familiar, the smell of coffee, the sound of the morning news on TV. My wife's there, in her robe, looking as beautiful as ever. She smiles at me, a simple, loving smile, and it's like a punch in the gut. Does she know? Can she see the guilt on my face? I force a smile, mutter something about a long night at work. The rest of the morning is a blur. I go through the motions, breakfast, small talk, the usual morning routine. But my mind is elsewhere, stuck in the woods, in the car, on the empty streets at dawn. I'm torn between two worlds, and the strain of it is starting to show. I can feel it, a growing divide between the life I have and the life I'm leading on the side. And I wonder, how long can I keep this up? How long before something gives? As I leave for work, kissing my wife goodbye, I realize that I'm standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to the thrill, the excitement, the danger of Stefan. The other, back to the safety, the comfort, the routine of my marriage. But the choice isn't as clear as it seems. Each path is tangled with emotions, with consequences, with parts of me that I'm still trying to understand. And as I drive off, the morning sun now fully risen, I know that the decision I make will change everything. In the days following our secret rendezvous in the woods, things at work start to get, let's say, a bit off kilter. I walk into the office, trying to keep my cool, act normal, you know? But there's this vibe, this undercurrent that something's not quite right. Stefan's there, and he's acting weird, like he's got this invisible barrier around him. We exchange this awkward, hey, and nothing more. Gone are our casual chats by the coffee machine, the inside jokes shared over lunch. It's like we're two strangers who just happen to work at the same place. And it's not just Stefan. I start noticing these looks from other colleagues. You know the kind, quick glances, hushed conversations that stop when I walk by. It's like I've become the main character in some office drama that I didn't audition for. I try to shake it off, tell myself I'm just being paranoid. But as the day goes on, it becomes harder to ignore. It's like there's this unspoken thing hanging in the air, this sense that everyone knows something they shouldn't. I'm sitting at my desk, trying to focus on work, but my mind's all over the place. What if people have figured out about Stefan and me? What if word's gotten out? The thought sends a chill down my spine. I mean, it's one thing to have an affair, but it's another thing entirely for it to become office gossip. Lunchtime rolls around, and I head to the break room, hoping to clear my head. But the moment I step in, the conversation stops. There's this awkward silence, then this forced, casual chit-chat. It's like I've walked onto the set of a bad sitcom. I grab my coffee, exchange some half-hearted pleasantries, and get out of there as fast as I can. The whole time, I feel these eyes on me, watching, judging. It's unnerving, to say the least. The rest of the day is a blur. Meetings where I can barely focus, conversations where I'm just going through the motions. The whole time, there's this nagging feeling in the back of my mind that something's